our Q&A. I just printed out 14 pages of questions. Thank you for all the great questions. We may not answer them all. Have you started to clean out all those preserved jars under the house? No.
No, not really.
Our grandchildren will eat that food.
Before you started homesteading and were in the thinking stage, were you both on the same page, or did you have to convince the other? I think we were pretty much both on the same page.
Yeah.
I was definitely ready to move as far out of town as we did before Brianna was.
I know, for me it was actually just seeing this place. I fell in love with this place. I don't know if I would have fallen in love with other properties. I know I didn't. We looked at a lot of properties. A lot of properties.
Yeah.
Any plans on making money off the homestead? Yes. We have lots of ideas. I have actually recently been inspired by Patera at Appalachia's Homestead. She says her farm, and I'm assuming she means like all of her animals and their needs, by her egg cells. And I have been so inspired by that. I have begun to research and brainstorm and look into how I can do the same thing.
Wendy Vroom 1 asks if we're planning on trying meat chickens in the spring, and also if we're interested in spinning wool. I hope to raise a batch of meat chickens this summer. I don't really have the setup to do it right now, but yes, it is something we want to do this summer if we can come up with the time and pull it off. I would love to do it.
Do I have any interest in fiber animals, even Angora rabbits? And do I spin? We have had Angora rabbits before, actually. I was like 8 months pregnant with Justice, holding these rabbits in my lap and like brushing their hair. Do you remember that? It was kind of fun for like 2 weeks, and then it wasn't fun anymore. They were just a lot of work. I don't know. I would love to learn to spin and knit and all those wonderful things, but it's just not going to happen in my life currently. Don Scott asks, how did the vlogging gang at the Roads Open Bus all meet? Can you give an idea of your YouTube income? And are there not into vlogging days, and how do you deal with that?
Oh, I want to answer some of that.
I do. We met all those people at the Roads Open Bus. So that's how we met them. And I think they all met through Jeff and Stacy, who remodeled their bus. Can we give an idea of our YouTube income? It's not very much yet. You have to get a lot of views in order to make any sort of income. And we think we have great views. We're pretty excited about them, but the income is still very small.
So we calculated that in like dollars per hour, and depending on the day, we've made somewhere between like 2 and at most maybe
5.
5? At most 5?
5.
Anyway, somewhere in the sub-minimum wage range per
dollars
hour.
per hour. Sometimes like a penny. I mean, in the beginning it was of course way less than that. It's not much money, but that's okay. Are there not into vlogging days, and how do you deal with that? Yeah, we have days that we're not into vlogging, and we deal with it like you deal with anything. You just do it anyway. And usually most of the time it will gain momentum and you'll get excited about what you're talking about. The days that I'm not excited about vlogging are the days that I don't feel like I have anything interesting to say, and the days that I'm extremely busy and having to film what I'm doing is taking time away from the other things I need to be focused on.
Whether we're into vlogging on a certain day or not into vlogging, it's still another great day on the homestead.
That's true.
I'm very curious about what you will grow to feed your animals. I hope to someday be able to feed all humans and animals from my garden land, and look forward to seeing your success with it. What made you decide to homeschool your children? That may just have to be a video down the road.
I actually have a question for you guys. I would love to shoot some why we homeschool videos, what curriculum we use videos, but I've been concerned that they would just be totally too boring. So if you want to see me make some homeschool videos and Arthur too, let us know. Because I was going to, and then I just felt like, oh, this is not interesting at all to anybody. And I would love to make those videos because that's something that I'm focused on very intently almost every day of the week.
Okay, I'm going to answer that question. Why we decided to homeschool our kids? Two answers. One, we want to spend time with our kids while they're little at least. And then the other reason, a little more philosophical, is that teaching your children is actually the 10,000 year tradition of humankind, not sending them to school. So it's just what people have done in history, and we really like it. So
I like school too. I mean, yeah, I have friends whose kids go to school and they do pretty amazing things at school. So it's just a choice you make.
We're going to seed our pasture to try to improve its quality and protein content to reduce the amount of food we're buying for our goats. We want to take advantage of browsing options on our property, and maybe in the future even on neighbors' properties where neighbors want a section of brush and brambles cleared. So the idea there would be to rotate goats through areas that we don't have to plant, we don't have to take care of, it's just growing there, and goats are amazing at taking advantage of that because they have basically the same diet as deer. Some other things that I'd like to do, I'd love to try to grow some small grain. I don't know about growing enough corn to help feed chickens, but I'd love to experiment some with what we can grow actually in our garden or in a larger field for chickens and for goats. There's a lot of root vegetables you can feed to goats, I think, and cows. And then I really, down the road, would love to have a cow and let the cow be kind of the miracle converter of the grass into protein. That's something that cows and chickens can't really do, turn grass into protein. Cows can do it. What did I just say?
You said cows and chickens can't do it.
The pigs and chickens cannot turn grass into protein. Cows can do that magic. And then you can feed the dairy products to your chickens and to your pigs. And that's something I would love to learn more about and hopefully be doing in a year.
Alright, there's been a few people that have asked me about being a doula. So if you don't know what a doula is, it's basically like a birth coach. So you would hire me to come to your birth to kind of help you get through it, or maybe help your husband help you. That's actually been my goal every time at every birth I've ever been to, is to always help the husband help his wife. And I have found that helps create families, and it really bonds husbands and wives together. It's just an incredible thing to get to be at a birth, especially like a first child, and see that all happen and get to be a part of encouraging that process.
So Wild Roots asks where we see ourselves in 5 years. And honestly, we see ourselves right here.
Right here.
With hopefully a really successful, productive little homestead with maybe some apple trees starting to produce apples, and a really nice garden, happy kids.
Grace will be 12, almost 13. That will be a whole new season of life. Let's talk about our garden. Lots of people have asked about, are we planting a garden? What are we going to plant, and when are we going to start? Yes, we're going to have a garden. We'll be starting seeds pretty soon. Our garden situation is sort of complicated because it's going to be our first year gardening, and the soil's not that great. So our plan is to hopefully start a back to Eden style garden on half of our garden and go ahead and plant half of it this year, which means that there won't be enough room for me to grow quite a few things I would love to grow. I need to be patient. Patient.
You're planning on having more children or getting any more animals?
That's a funny question to put together.
But probably, I want to get pigs now. I look at them every week.
We saw a great deal on some American guinea hogs like 2 days ago. I was like, let's go buy them.
Every week I look at them, but I kind of think that we need to do our fences. We want to get sheep and a cow, but honestly we want to do this in a way where we are able to take really good care of the animals and actually know what we're doing, so it's not just like entertainment, so they're actually able kind of to enter in to a system that works in our life, that doesn't make our life totally crazy, but also where we're not just buying tons of food. So we need to have really all of our space fenced, and then also have a good setup for the pigs and a really good plan, so it's not just chaos.
I actually really, really want to fence in our yard and rotational graze sheep intensively so that we don't have to mow our grass. If you watch our vlog from last summer, you will see us mowing grass all the time. We're only on page 4.
When are Lovey's kids going to be born? That's the big question. That's our question too. When are they going to be born? We don't know. It's going to be soon. She's showing all the signs. Do you let your baby goats play with your dog? No. I might do that. I don't think the dog would hurt them, and I don't think the goats would. I think the baby goats would be fine, but all of the mature goats hate our dog. They are whenever they see him, even at a great distance, they just stand and stare. So they definitely have an instinctual fear of him.
Quite a few people have asked if we're going to get a billy goat. I mean, I would say that if we are going to have like what you would consider a sustainable or self-sustaining homestead, I would say yes. It is not in the foreseeable future. For now, we will take our goats to someone that has billy, or we'll bring the billy here in the future. Someone else asked, why did I choose the types of goats that I did? And what kind of goats do I have? Those kinds of questions. Okay, we have our 2 little goats are dwarf Nigerians, and our larger goat is a Nubian. I chose the dwarf Nigerians because my friend was selling them and they were pregnant, and I was just really excited about them, and I also heard that they had very sweet, creamy milk, although they don't give very much. I think in the future I will only be adding to the herd large goats that give larger quantities of milk, like the Nubian. So a good dwarf Nigerian I think gives about a quart a day, whereas a good Nubian will give like a gallon a day, and that's more the kind of quantities I'm needing, because my goal with my goats is to provide all my dairy except when I want like special cheese like cheddar or Gouda or something. But I'll provide our milk and our yogurt and some of our teas. So a lot of people have asked, when am I going to be milking the goats? Am I milking the goats? And questions like that. Well, Coco is the only goat in milk right now, and I'm not milking her yet because right after the babies were born, I gave her a very strong dewormer, and you have to wait 4 weeks before you can milk after you give that to your goats. How's Oreo? Someone is asking. Oreo's our dog.
Oreo's doing great. He's old and he has some health problems. He's happy, but his hips are bad, so he falls up and down stairs.
He's incontinent.
And he doesn't always choose when he goes to the bathroom, so that's not a big deal. It's kind of an inconvenience, but he used to always go far in the woods. We never would see any dog poop, and now
Ever.
It kind of just falls
out
where it falls.
Yeah, but we really still love him and just hanging with him. Quite a few people have asked, what are we going to do with the goat kids? We're going to sell them. If my Nubian goat Flopsy has doelings, which are girl babies, girl kids, I will be keeping them and raising them, or Grace wants to raise them. So that's what we'll do with them. Question.
So Daughter of Dorcas asked, what have been your greatest and unexpected joys of the interaction with a faceless, anonymous public? And on the other hand, did you expect the negative comments, and how do you deal with that part? Only answer the first one if that's preferable. So I would say the greatest joy of this has been when people tell us that we either inspired them to start a homesteading project or adventure, or just inspired them in some other way in their life. And as far as handling negative comments, I would say we probably did expect the negative comments. That's what you get when you're out on the internet. People are uninhibited online, and they will say things to you that you would never say to someone's face.
I've been called some pretty terrible things on YouTube, actually, and it has been really hurtful. I have learned Arthur has actually helped me learn to realize that, like, not to let that stuff get to me. But there have been some really, really hateful, mean, and terrible things said to me.
So basically, the way I see it is there's kind of this core group of people, you all who watch this, who are super supportive and really like what we're doing. And then there's people who kind of just like fall into our channel because of, a random video, who have really no interest in homesteading. And I think those people, they're like one-time comments. Actually, if you're nasty like that, it's going to be a one-time comment. Just kind of one-time, just really nasty comments. And that's just what you get for being online.
I don't think that's fair to say that's just what you get for being online, though, because that makes it sound like it's okay.
No, it's
really not okay disgusting. To treat people that way.
I mean, honestly, if we want to just go right out there, it's like some of these things that people say, like if they were here and they said that, I would punch them. I would punch them in the face. And that's just like being totally honest. That's what you get when you're face to face with someone, is you have to deal with the consequences of saying something. But online, you have these people who just go around, and I mean, I imagine this is like their normal practice.
Yeah. And I think that's what you end up realizing after a little bit, is like, these people hold no weight. Like, their words carry absolutely no weight because they're not in the circle of influence of our life. But it took me a minute to realize that. I mean, I would kind of like go to check comments, and there'd be these ones that would just like get me.
Michael Muir asks, if we had to leave the U.S., where would we go? Sweden, of course.
So we'd go to Sweden. Visit Swedish Homestead.
Oh gosh, there's too many to list actually on that list. So
a lot of people ask me questions like, Bree, how do you balance homeschooling, homesteading, vlogging, running a small business, and all the things that I do? And that is just such a challenging question to answer in this amount of time. So it would probably need to be another vlog. I think in past videos I've said I don't, but that wasn't really a great answer because I actually do it every day. But it's challenging. I just work really, really hard every single day. And most days, I don't meet the goal that I set for myself.
So David asked, what drives us every day to keep us going and not fall back so hard when life hits us hard? I would say our faith is very central to what keeps us going and what drives our lives. It's at the core of why we do a lot of what we do. There's also, though, we have a pretty solid, well-defined dream of having this homestead and what we want it to be, and also what we want our lives to look like. So we haven't lost track of that. It's been kind of crazy the last few months, but we haven't really lost track of that vision. We haven't lost track of why we're doing YouTube, to provide an extra source of income, to fund the things that we're doing on our homestead, and also to kind of build into our homestead infrastructure that can help support us in the future. So we have that vision that we've held on to through kind of the craziness.
So, okay, I would like to answer that question. I would say that for me, that it's hope. And that's hope in who God says He is and what God has done through Jesus. And that's what keeps me going on hard days. And the other thing is, and it always will be, God taught me this lesson a long time ago, and that is thankfulness and gratefulness. That is the source of all joy. If you read Philippians 4, if you go over it, Philippians 4 through 8, you will find out how to have joy. And on the days, and there's many of them, where I forget where my hope comes from, where my joy comes from, when I remember that, when I remember those things, my hope and my joy return. When my hope is in whether or not YouTube's going to do well, I have anxiety attacks. When my hope is in whether or not, I'm ever going to have closets in this house, which may sound like such a trite thing, but for me it's a big deal, I have anxiety attacks. But when my hope is in what is solid and true and never changes, and whenever I am thankful and grateful, and I remember the good things, I remember what is true and what is right and what is holy, I have peace and I have joy.
So that's your last question. Good answer. Thank y'all for joining us. We didn't answer every single question. We'll do this again. So if you have questions, you can throw them out in the video. We try to answer as many comments as we can.
Some people are probably saying, oh gosh, I'm glad you didn't. It's like a 30-minute long video.
Anyway, thank you guys for being our faithful viewers and our YouTube friends. And you all have a good evening.